All right. Today we are going to be analyzing a deal. Let me make sure everything is working as intended. All right. Looks like we are live. All right. Perfect. So today we just got our 3-bedroom single family home rent increase approved from $700 to $1,100. And this is for a 3-bedroom property in Fairfield 35064. Now, our property is around this area, so I figured we would just look at some surrounding areas in Fairfield. Now, the thing with Fairfield is that it's probably a Class C neighborhood, so you really got to figure out your neighborhoods because it really is street by street. So you want to make sure and be careful if you see too many boarded up homes or signs of dilapidated areas where no one really cares about a neighborhood, but this one doesn't look too bad. Okay. So what we're doing next is we're going to go through and look at some of these photos so we can figure out what does our rehab actually look like for this property. Let's see if I can squeeze this in. Again, if you want to look at the full screen version, you can go to youtube.com/@Kent_HE. So this looks like a pretty standard home. I'll probably replace all of the flooring, all of the paint. This bathroom's okay. Maybe we just replace the tub, put in a new tub there. Nothing big. Kitchen count looks fine. A range is probably fine. You could put in a nicer one, but we'll see what the budget looks like for a cash and cash return afterwards. Now, okay. All right. So that's it. So let's get some numbers here. So the first thing we want to do is you want to grab the HUD FMR, and you can start by looking at the county. Okay. Now, I'm still doing this because it's part of the standard process, but I typically know that right now, because I've been approved for $1,100 for a 3-bedroom home, then that's usually the number I'm going to underwrite it. But I'm just going to take a quick look at what the FMR is again, 35064. The 35064 for a 3-bedroom is $1,360. So I know that's the best case scenario, but I'll probably be closer to $1,100. And if I put in this address on affordablehousing.com, and the reason I want to go to affordablehousing.com is because of the rent reasonableness test. If the market rent for comparable units within a certain number of square mile radius is below the FMR, chances are they won't give you the full FMR, which is that 1360 number that we're talking about. Now, put in the address and you see that it's at $1,000. So this is probably why we got approved for $1,100 for our rental number versus the 1360, but slightly still higher than the 1,007 average. So I'm going to go ahead and write down all these numbers, which is 1,007. Let me kind of put this off to the side so I can just kind of plug these numbers in. For folks that are watching on Instagram, you guys can kind of follow through. 1,007, 943, 943. The whole reason I do this so that after I finish underwriting, I can kind of just send it right over to my partners so they know exactly how I underwrote it. 35064, 35064. Let you gather in all the numbers. This is 1360, and I always grab the rents for the 4-bedroom just in case there might be an opportunity to get a higher rent. Oh, put this in the wrong location. This should have been a 3-bedroom. There we go. Let's see what the market rent is for a 4-bedroom in this area, just in case there's some areas where I can convert into additional bedroom. Okay, there's really no 4-bedroom homes in this area. That's interesting. I never knew that. So there might be a big demand if you do create a 4-bedroom home, and you can save your home for the tier 1 tenants that we typically talk about, especially if you watch our podcast with Dr. Joe Azamoah on affordable housing and real estate investing. So let's talk about property taxes. Property taxes is $71. I know I got an insurance quote for $1,000 for our property for a 3-bedroom home in Fairfield. So I'm going to use $1,000 divided by 12 instead of using what I see right here on the Redfin estimates, which is what I typically do when I do $50. So as you get more and more information based on your own experience, based on what other investors tell you, you don't have to follow the standard process that we always talk about. We're just getting property taxes from Redfin and then getting the insurance number and multiplying by 1.2. If you have more accurate numbers based on your own insurance brokers or your own experiences, this is where there's flexibility in how you underwrite. So as I underwrite this property I'm putting in as $1,100 for rent here. Now let's go to the rehab calculator. Now I always set aside $1,500, assuming there's going to be something wrong with the roof that I have to repair. And as I go and continue underwriting, here is I'm leaving $500 for landscaping and cleaning up with the backyard while the renovation is going on. Just have a little bit of hedge there. There's usually something that always pops up. I like to put in $3 per square foot, so 1,022 at $3 a square foot to paint the entire home. And then I have 1,022 because I expect I need to replace the flooring in the entire home too. So that should give me a pretty good cosmetic rehab at $8 a square foot. Now, this market might be a little bit cheaper, but I like to be a little bit more conservative with numbers because $8 a square foot is what we paid in our Scottsdale home for renovations, as an example. As we go down, we talked about putting in an actual tub in the bathtub and showers around, bathroom towel, shower head, towel kit, putting in your vanity for that, vanity cabinet, vanity countertop, vanity mirror, a new sink. So some small rehab and a new toilet for the bathroom. So some small rehab for the bathroom that we saw earlier that we thought we could at least make a little bit nicer. Keeping the water heater here because it appears to be vacant. Not sure if anybody's living in there. So I'm going to want to set aside some money for the water heater. And I'm also setting aside some money for any termite treatment. So that brings me to a total of $22,000 rehab, assuming that there's a 20% contingency in there just in case for things that we did not expect. Now, when you do that, this becomes, assuming you have a conventional purchase. So let me pull up the loan there so you guys can kind of see. I have right now at a 25% down payment for a $65,000 home. This is we gotta be careful. Some lenders, they will not loan on a home where the balance or the loan amount is actually less than $50,000. So something to be really careful about, just because it appears to be a really cheap home, you might not find the financing for this home, right? So just be a little careful about that. 25% down, 2.5% closing costs, which brings me $1,600. And I got $22,000 for rehab. All in all, this equals to, if I assume it's $1,100 rent, this gives me a $342 of cash flow. That's 10.2% cash on cash return. This assumes a $64,500. Now, if I were able to get the full rent, which is $1,360, if I had applied for that, this would get me all the way up to $1,360. This is $548. And this is currently a 16.3%. Again, same purchase price of $64,500. So I like that there's a path towards getting to 17%, but it still doesn't get me that 17% cash on cash return. And I haven't had anybody walk this property. Right now, I would hold off on this property personally, but 10% return on your money might be good enough for somebody else. Like this might be a good enough deal for someone that just seems like, hey, I got 20, 40 grand sitting around that's not doing anything with it. I'd rather make 10% on my money instead of just letting it sit there and erode away with inflation. So something for you to think about, something for you to strongly consider to see whether or not that is your investment strategy. This isn't an area that I would consider as a very high appreciating market. So I would not bet on any appreciation. This seems like one of those pure cash flow plays. And I'm being pretty conservative at a 8.5% interest rate right now. So when I look at all these different scenarios at 1,100, am I happy with a 10% return? Maybe, maybe not. 1,360 is very optimistic, even though that is the highest FMR. Because the market rents are at 1,100, chances are that is the max rent I'm able to get. So I'm not going to underwrite at this amount because my experience has already said this is the more likely rent. And that more likely rent is only 10.2%. If for some reason this home was like, I don't know, let's say 50 grand as an example. Well, if I got this home for 50 grand, then all of a sudden this would definitely be a deal. So if I see this home ever come down to 50 grand, I would be making, wait, hold on. Let's go back to $1,100. Let's double check the numbers. 14%. And it's still on the borderline. 1,100, but that's actually pretty good. And I like that in probably a year or two, you can probably hit that 2%. So if you have capital to allocate to a deal, this might be a deal you might be considering. So I know we've been looking at a couple of deals lately that were negative, but this is honestly, it's not bad, but it just doesn't meet my investors criteria. So completely up to you on what you guys want to do, but figured I will analyze this deal, put it up there. And what are we doing here? we're just practicing every day. We're analyzing a deal together every day. It's just part of our daily habit. So we figure out whether or not something is a deal, if it is a deal. And I think I'm being pretty conservative here. I'm leaving still 10% aside every single month. If for some reason your renovations or your maintenance expenses are not as high, then you stand to make a little bit of extra cash flow, right? But I always take out 10% from my rent to set aside for budget to repair anything that might go wrong with the home. And sometimes if you just look at everybody else and you're like, oh, the PITI, what is it? The PITI here for this 50 grand home is $442. So when your rent's 1,100, you should make about 600, right? Not the case. Don't forget about property management, your vacancy, and your maintenance expenses. Cool. If you guys want access to this calculator, just DM me your email on Instagram at invest with Kent He. That's KENTHE. And this is what we do every single day. I hope every one of you can copy what I'm doing, do it better. Let me know how you're underwriting better, because I always like to learn from other people. And from that perspective, you guys can copy the same deals, same calculators, same verbiage, and put it on your own YouTube channel so that it gives your self-confidence to recognize the deal when the deal comes across. But more importantly, for you guys to have the ability to raise capital on your own for future deals, because the number one reason I hear that people never get started in real estate is because they say it's a rich person's game. I don't have money. Well, I can tell you that there are a lot of people out there with capital that are looking for deals. And if you're the one that is able to prove that you know how to spot a deal, and you can prove that by having your own YouTube channel with 100 deals that you've analyzed over the last 100 days, and that will give you the undeniable track history that you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. And hopefully that allows you to build more confidence and to instill confidence in your investors that might be looking to park their money in a cause like affordable housing that they care about. Everybody wants a time freedom. Everyone wants to help people. So let yourself be that beacon of light. Let yourself be the person that can show them how they can underwrite deals themselves, and just focus on serving others. This was all meant for you guys. I still only do single families because I enjoy it and I like talking about it. And it's a really relatively simple concept for a lot of people to grasp. Even though I'm an affordable housing developer now, I'm still doing this because it's important. And in order to solve this affordable housing problem, we need everybody on board. So thank you so much for your time, guys. Have an amazing Friday. Have an amazing weekend. I'll be back on tomorrow again. Again, I'm doing this for 100 days in a row. This is like day 40, 41 or something like that. Let's keep going. Thank you, guys. And this is helpful. Please make sure you give a thumbs up and follow us on Instagram. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/@Kent_G. Have an amazing day. Bye.